Hey guys, hope you're having a great day today. My name is Steve. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel. Today I'm going to be reacting to something called the Grenfell Tower fire. Now, I don't really know anything about this, but this has been recommended in the comments section a ton. And so I thought I'd go ahead and check this out today. I think this should be interesting. Oh, the one thing I do know about this, I believe it was in the London area, if I'm not mistaken, but beyond that, I have no idea. But obviously this took place on June 13th, 2017, but otherwise I have no idea what to expect here. But yeah, guys, enough of my rambling. Let's go ahead and dive in and check out the Grenfell Tower fire.
On June 13th, 2017, a warm, quiet night in the North Kensington area of West London looked far from turning into a chaotic one. Residents of the lower-income Lancaster West housing estate were sound asleep. In one flat on the 4th floor, a strange smell from his kitchen woke up a tenant. When he went to check it, he saw smoke coming from the back of his refrigerator. The fire quickly spread across the poor man's kitchen, who immediately raised the alarm and called the firefighters. The fire seemed like a challenge London firefighters were facing every day. However, once the fire went out of the kitchen window, it turned into a blaze that not even 250 firefighters could extinguish for the next 24 hours.
24 hours?
A thing like a refrigerator burned down a 24-story tower. Grenfell Tower.
Wow! The fire lasted 24 hours. How? Hold on, guys. I just want to look at this real quick. I'm sure we're going to find out exactly what happened here, but you know, he's right. How in the world did a simple refrigerator fire spread so quickly that did he say 200 firemen or hold on, I got to go back. 250 firemen?
However, once the fire went out of the kitchen window, it turned into a blaze that not even 250 firefighters could extinguish for the next 24 hours. But how can a thing like a refrigerator burn down a 24-story tower?
Yeah, like what was the outside facade of this tower made of? You know, I'm thinking if it's like brick and it goes out the fire basically spreads out the window, right? Like how is it going to climb up and, you know, continue burning something? I mean, obviously on the inside, sure, but okay, I don't know. I guess we'll find out, but that is crazy. Okay, I can see why this is such a big deal because, you know, this what seemed like a relatively simple fire to begin with just engulfed this whole building for 24 hours and not even 200 and some firemen could put this out. That is wild, man.
Grenfell Tower. Today, North Kensington is considered an exclusive area of the City of London, one with super high real estate prices.
Oh.
However, North Kensington was not always a posh neighborhood. In the 1960s, the area was inhabited mainly by a working-class population and immigrants. Even today, there are residues of these old times, islands of council housing estates surrounded by upmarket residences. One such is Lancaster West Estate. In the late 1960s, the Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea started a project to eliminate the slums in North Kensington and replace them with a modern council housing estate. The project, imagined as ideal for living, was devised in 1972. Phase 1 of the plan consisted of a 24-story tower with 3 lower finger blocks and a landscaped green area between them.
So I've heard that London has a limit on how high the skyscrapers can go. Is that true? And so I'm thinking that 24 stories would be fairly high for, is that correct? 24 stories would be fairly high for a lot of buildings in London. I don't know where I heard that. Someone told me that in the comments at one point, I believe. But I'm curious, guys. So council housing is basically low-income housing. Is that what you guys call it? If someone is on a low income and they're getting government subsidized housing, that is considered council housing?
When it was completed in 1974, it was a big step forward for social housing standards. The estate and the entire area was dominated by a 24-story building, the Grenfell Tower. Designed by Clifford Weirden and Associates in a brutalist style, Quite popular among architects at the time, they projected the building to have 120 flats with 200 bedrooms. Each of the 20 residential floors had 6 apartments, 2 more than the standard at the time. Grenfell Tower was an innovative building for many other things. Like most towers, Grenfell also had a concrete structure. However, unlike other constructions, Grenfell Tower designers refrained from using brick walls for infill. Instead, they used prefabricated insulated concrete panels. The aim was to make the entire structure as solid as possible and avoid any possibility of a collapse, as has happened 6 years earlier when an entire corner of the Ronan Point Tower collapsed.
Wow.
When finished, Grenfell Tower construction...
Oh man, I hope no one was in that at the time. Wow. Okay, so interesting. Okay, let's continue.
Doctors claimed that the building would last for another 100 years.
How did that
burn? For the next 40 years, the Grenfell Tower went from the area's landmark to an old and ugly pile of concrete. Brutalism was largely outmoded in the 2010s, and the building needed to be refreshed. However, it was because of the lack of proper insulation that the local council decided to invest in the building's reconstruction. Grenfell Tower got a fresh look in 2013. Flats had a water-based heating system installed, and old windows were replaced with new, more energy-efficient ones. For the same reason, the concrete facade was covered with insulation foam and aluminum rain screen cladding. Not only did the cladding improve the efficiency of energy consumption, but it gave the building a modern, more appealing look. It seemed like the council did an outstanding job.
Yeah, it looks nicer.
As living conditions improved, the entire estate became more alluring. Not everyone, however, was satisfied with how the council was taking care of the building. Some tenants accused the council of failing to observe several safety issues, primarily those regarding fire safety installations. The building, they said, was highly vulnerable to fire.
Why?
It was as if they foresaw the events of June 17th, 2017.
Is it the insulation? Is that what is so vulnerable to the fire? I don't know. He hadn't really said yet, but let me know in the comments, guys. Maybe he'll tell, what was so vulnerable, why this building went up in flames so easily, or like what it seems like it was very hard to put out, at least.
The fire. The operator of the London Fire Brigade received a call that day at 54 minutes after midnight.
Wow.
Mehelu Kabede.
Oh my goodness, the whole building. Like every floor, that is insane. Like, even, like, I could understand, okay, it did happen on the 4th floor, so that does, at first I was like, wait, it went down, but no, it was, I don't know where the 4th floor is, maybe here or here, but either way, yeah, that makes sense, it could have gone down, but like, this is crazy, the whole building.
From flat number 16 on the 4th floor, called the firefighters reporting the fire in his kitchen. 5 minutes later, 4 fire engines arrived at the scene. The firefighters who entered the flat located the source of the fire 7 minutes after they entered. By that time, the fire from the kitchen had spread through the window and into the rain screen cladding. To everyone's surprise, the fire quickly spread upwards and across the building's eastern side, where the kitchen window was positioned. In less than 30 minutes, the fire reached the top floor of the tower. Wow. The flames reached the northern side at 1:42 a.m. and continued to spread along the facade, both upwards and to the side.
Wow.
10 minutes later, the fire reached the southern side of the building.
Oh my goodness. I've never seen anything like this. I've seen some fires and some buildings, but I've never seen literally an entire side of a building basically ablaze like this. So was it just the new facade that they put up, the insulation inside of it or something that caused this to happen? I can't imagine that if it was just the old concrete, structure that it was before they did the upgrade. I can't imagine that would have like gone up like this. It doesn't, with the concrete and whatnot. Like this just something is really off with this. And I can't imagine it's anything but that facade.
The entire building was about to be caught on fire. As they approached Grenfell Tower, London firefighters noticed a glimmering light on the 4th floor. Nothing special, one of them noted. A little more than an hour later, at 2:06 a.m., they declared the fire a major incident. Still, the firefighters advised tenants not to leave their apartments.
No.
The Grenfell Tower had a stay-put policy in case of fire. As strange as it sounds, the policy was a standard procedure in all buildings similar to Grenfell Tower. In case of fire in one apartment, the construction of the building, namely its thick concrete walls, would provide security for tenants in other apartments.
Yeah, I can understand that, but I'm like looking at this, and he hasn't got to that far yet of what happened, but like, this does not look good if you didn't leave your apartment, based off of what it looks like here. I mean, it looked like, on some of those pictures, looked like nearly every window, every room was, or every apartment was filled with fire. I don't know if that was the case, but it looked like that. This is crazy. Wow. Man.
Fire could last for hours in the apartment. The concrete walls and doors made of fire-resistant material would keep it confined.
Is all that
and prevent
smoke?
It from spreading.
Yeah, it is.
Unfortunately, the firefighters failed to foresee that the fire would spread along the building facade and reach other apartments from outside.
Oh, man.
Once they realized that the fire was taking the entire building, the firefighters abandoned the stay-put policy and advised tenants to evacuate. For many, it was too late.
Oh, no.
Escaping the inferno. It was a lucky occasion that most tenants trusted their instincts rather than follow procedures. By 2:47 a.m., when the decision was made to give up on the stay-put procedure, more than half of around 300 tenants had already evacuated the building.
Wow.
However, 100 or so remained inside. Instead of evacuating, many ran upstairs, seeking refuge from their friends on the top floors.
Oh no, that's exactly
the only thing they did
what you don't want to do.
Themselves cut off. At 3 a.m., as the fire spread across the building's western side, it became practically impossible for tenants trapped inside to leave the building. More than half of the 120 flats caught on fire. Elevators were out of use, and the only staircase in the tower was filled with toxic smoke. Nevertheless, the brave men of the London Fire Brigade were rushing in and out, saving everyone within their reach. The most challenging aspect of the task was locating the tenants trapped inside. Many of them used their phones to contact the fire brigade center, revealing their position. The dispatcher then contacted the officer in charge at the site, who passed the message to the men inside the tower. Because of the noise, it was impossible to use radio communication. Instead, a messenger passed the command's orders on a piece of paper. In every disaster, fear is a man's greatest enemy.
Yeah, it's very true.
Caught in panic, tenants moved from one apartment
Last thing you want to do is fear or
there
be
were
scared
cases
or
when firefighters came into the flat from which they received the call for rescue and found no one inside. Some tenants chose not to wait for the rescue, but tried themselves to find alternate routes for rescue. There were some curious attempts to leave the building, such as one tenant who attempted to climb down from his flat using tied bed sheets. Some bystanders even reported people jumping out of their windows in an attempt to save themselves from fire.
Man.
At 4:30 a.m., the whole building was engulfed with fire. The high temperature inside prevented the firefighters from searching the building for trapped tenants. By that time, they had rescued only 36 of them after the stay-put policy was abandoned. 70 of their neighbors never left the building. Most of them died on the top floors. They tried to escape the fire,
70
believing firefighters would extinguish the fire before it reached the very top of the building.
70.
Little did they know. In a matter of minutes, the fire somehow reached the top floors to the surprise of everyone present. Indeed, how did it happen so fast?
Wow.
That was a key question in the investigation that followed.
Oh, dude, 70. Wow. That's not something I expected going into this. I thought this was going to be a disaster with the building, but I didn't think it would be that many casualties. You know, hearing about the people jumping out of the windows and stuff reminds me of the Twin Towers of 9/11 a little bit, because that was obviously something that was going on. And I will never get that out of my head, seeing that, you know, live. I remember seeing it live, actually. But, man, dude, like, so the stay put policy was definitely not a good thing in this case. I mean, I'm sure it's good in a lot of cases, but definitely was the wrong call here. Obviously, they ended it when they realized that it wasn't the right call, but obviously it was too late, unfortunately. Man. All right, let's see what the causes are.
Causes. The last tenant to be rescued from the building was taken out at 8:07 a.m. The fire was brought under control only at 1:14 a.m. the following day. It was more than 24 hours after the fire brigade received the call. They extinguished the last pockets of fire on the evening of June 16th.
Okay, that's interesting. It looks like this side. So it doesn't look like it reached the sides, or probably down on the top or the upper floors, because this is like it's below fourth floor, obviously. So that's probably why I'm not seeing the rest of it.
Fire on the evening of June 16th. The investigation undoubtedly determined that the refrigerator in flat number 16 was the source of the fire. The faulty refrigerator, that is.
Wow.
Its compressor relay wiring
it is literally everything's gone,
and therefore caused the overheating and setting of plastic insulation on the back of the fridge on fire. The reasons why the entire building went into flames in just 3 hours were entirely different, though. The investigation showed that the main factor to be blamed for the tragedy was the cladding. When the building was renovated in 2013, cladding installation was the most demanding and most expensive part. The original concrete facade of the building was covered with 150 millimeter thick polyisocyanurate insulation foam plates.
Wow.
Over the installation, rain screen aluminum sandwich panels with polyethylene cores were fitted. Between the insulation and the aluminum panels, there was a 50 millimeter ventilation gap. All these features proved to be problematic and a crucial reason why the fire spread so quickly. Polyisocyanurate insulation is made of extremely flammable material. When ignited, it burns rapidly and releases toxic gases.
Oh, so basically you had the perfect storm here. You obviously had the concrete here, and you had this highly flammable material in the middle. But you still had an air cavity right here to keep oxygen on the fire. All right. Wow, man. Why didn't they see that coming? Why? I don't understand, like, the people who decided to use this material in this way. How was that not something that they thought of? I don't understand, man. You would think people that have a lot of experience with building materials would be like, well, this is going to be a fire risk. I don't understand how they missed this.
When used in tall buildings such as Grenfell Tower, the manufacturer-provided guide recommended the insulation be used in combination with special non-combustible rain screen panels and vertical and horizontal fire breaks to meet fire safety standards. The aluminum rain screen panels fitted to Grenfell Tower were also anything but non-combustible. The aluminum plates were, but the panel core made of polyethylene was not. What's more, the material is highly flammable. These panels were not recommended for use on buildings taller than 10 meters. When Grenfell Tower caught on fire, aluminum rain screen cladding burned like a match.
So were we basically was the fire must have been going up on the inside. It wasn't climbing up directly on the outside of the building. It was inside of that little shell, basically, that aluminum shell, and it had this material that was burning very easily on the inside. There's very flammable material inside of that was just all the way up, man. Wow.
match. The last part of the deadly combination was a gap between the rain screen panels and the insulation foam. Without properly installed fire breaks, it caused a chimney effect, pushing the fire to
I didn't even think about that.
In no time.
Just sucking it up.
The question was, how did the local council fail to observe all these deficiencies? As always, it was all about the money. When the reconstruction started, the council was guided by the cost rather than quality. Better contractors and more appropriate cladding were refused only due to cost. What the council showed was the ultimate level of neglect toward the safety of Grenfell Tower tenants. Aftermath. The result was the Grenfell Tower fire, the worst residential fire disaster in the United Kingdom since World War II.
Wow.
72 tenants lost their lives in the fire, the youngest being only 6 months old.
Oh, man.
The lucky 223 escaped the building before it was too late, but not without consequences. Both tenants and firefighters on duty were exposed to highly toxic gases that caused them health problems at later stages. Their mental health was also damaged, with many suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. The final damage of the fire that includes various expenses from death and injury compensation to rebuilding costs rose to an incredible £1 billion.
Wow,
It
for that building.
Enough,
well, and
though,
everything else that went along with it.
Innocent lives. Lives that could have been saved if only everyone were doing their job properly. Thank you for watching.
Wow, guys. That's horrible, man. It's horrible. Basically, the council, I'm not exactly sure what the council are. You'll have to explain that in the comments, guys. I don't know if are the council basically the people that are overseeing a low-income housing building or something like that. I have no idea. I've heard that term being used in regards to housing, but it's a term that I don't have any experience with here in the U.S. Is the building still there and like the shell of it, or is it a brand new building there now, or is there no building there? It looks like they rehabbed the entire structure from what it looks like here, but wow, guys. So this was the largest fire in UK history since World War I or World War II. Said one or the other, but I can believe it, man. This is incredibly sad, because it didn't have to happen. Whoever the council are, they decided to go a little bit cheaper and not spend as much money. And because of that, 72 people lost their lives. It's a shame, man. There's no sense in that, man. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for stopping by. Please click that like button. Feel free to drop your comments or suggestions about this video or others. And don't forget to subscribe to continue to follow me on my journey to discover my British and Irish ancestry. Until next time, guys, peace.